Finally, after understanding the entire flow of how things are, how these phases are working, and what exactly is the business logic, and how much we have minimized the code usage to only one section, we now know how to extend this entire architecture. This is basically extending a software architecture right in front of you, or you can think of it like a data pipeline, doesn't matter. But it is a sequence of steps that you can expand on and now have very clear understanding of. Plus, there is minimal usage of code. Trust me, I am a software engineer right now working in Ireland. You will never be able to get rid of code completely. Like some form of understanding of the code base has to be there. So this is the most easy way to make it as less painful as possible. Now, finally, if we want to actually stop this system from, even taking duplicate entries, like once I gave it books to scrape, another time I gave it books to scrape, it is taking that input and using my Firecrawl credits, and charging me something. Now, how to avoid this duplicacy? We can create a simple sitemap registry, which is nothing but something that we will run in parallel of, so you can see that this is phase 6. Now we can create a sitemap registry component which will create a spreadsheet, same thing that we were creating over here, but it will contain the metadata related to the websites that we have already scrapped up till now. So what is going to happen is, we'll take this node and we'll copy paste this node and we'll put it over here. We'll rename this as site registry, sitemap registry node. Again, this node is expecting data from the left hand side and will output some data from the right hand side. Right now it is also erroring on the fixed expression, which pointed to the copy template node and which was taking data from the copy template node, because I think we have not made any connections to that node as well. So don't get confused, this is the same setup. Again, just to show you the power of n8n, we don't need to touch the original JavaScript code which was generating our sitemaps. We can decouple that logic and put it in another code block in n8n so that the appropriate amount of data can be extracted from the firewall process. We had already extracted 179 or so URLs. There was a number that was coming up. Where is that number? So just a sec, let me see. 179 items, you can see. There were 179 URLs that were extracted from books to scrape per se. So what we can do is, we can copy this template also, and we can copy this card that is available for us, and we can say that int URL metadata detection. From the metadata that was generated in the Firecrawl process, we will not copy any template, but we will just simply provide this to the sorting URL table, the new code block. Right now it contains the old code which we can get rid of. We don't need that code right now. That logic is separate. That is a separate flow basically. Same data can go to multiple code bases. Now all of this is function creation. If you are familiar with code and JavaScript or Python or any kind of web application, all of this is function creation. But how easily we can create links and route the data in n8n, which shows the power of n8n. So we can create this, and then it makes sense to link this to this, because whatever data that came from Firecrawl, we have to just make a JSON entry of that data and then send the output to schema registry, which is just another spreadsheet file which will contain a list of all the uh, sites we already scraped till now from our chat. So just for the purpose of education and this, I have already created this code that you will need. Let me go through this code once a little bit so that people can understand how it is working. Now, map a website and get URLs. It is referencing this specific map a website and get URLs node. First link, from that links 0, get the first link, extract domain, which is to extract the domain name. Now if type of link, we again handle the struct. We do a domain match, like is it matching the proper format or not. Otherwise we put it in the proper format and we return simply 3 fields: domain name, URL count and process date. On which date that URL was processed, on which, what is the URL count of that specific domain, what how many URLs were we able to extract, and the domain name. We just need to track these 3 minimal features for now, so as to make, like, sense for us to actually be able to keep a registry where we have information of the previous URLs we already extracted, so that our system does not have any redundancies and it doesn't cost us unnecessarily for that. Ideally speaking, the system should be such that it should even detect the sub URLs that were scraped earlier, so that there is no repetition at any level. But creating such a system using Scrapy or any of the open source libraries or even paid APIs would require huge amount of programming knowledge and huge amount of time investments. All of this diagram creation you will have to do manually and then implement the code for that nodes manually in some code editor. All of that work has been replaced by such an automation tool, which is n8n. Now if I execute this, you can see books to scrape, 100 is the URL count, process date is 25/9/26, which is today's date, Friday 26 September. This is how this node is extracting directly data from this. So we have basically created a branch, and you can see the logic is also decoupled for this. Later you can transform this into other type of code bases or your own API endpoints, but the logic and the business logic is right in front of us and is clear, working, testable logic. Testability, that is another important factor that n8n adds. Now finally, saving this to a sitemap registry. Now it is using the copy template node. Now what do we want? If we think about it a little, sitemap is something that we don't need to initialize with every run. For example, till now what we were doing is we were creating a empty template for every site that we are trying to scrape. So in Google Sheets, what will happen is you will see in Google Sheets what will happen is it has opened Google Docs. I need to go to spreadsheets. So in over here, what will happen is for every website, for example, if we try to scrape n8n, if we try to scrape Firecrawl, if we try to scrape TechNode, it will create a specific file using that template and copy that template that we set, which is just an empty file, to tell it that for every site you have to use another spreadsheet so that we don't mix data from two different sites by mistake. But in case of sitemap registry, we don't need such a functionality. We just need one file to be updated on every run. So tomorrow I can give it Firecrawl, day after tomorrow I can give it n8n, day after tomorrow I can give it YouTube, day after that I can give it Amazon. But the sitemap doesn't need to be replicated again and again. Like, we don't want 4 different sitemap files. We want one sitemap file which will be the central source of truth, which will be updated on every run. So for that, we need to edit these settings, and we don't need to use this copy template node, which was this node we were trying to use till now. Now this node is using this template file to create a template file for every website we are scraping. But this sitemap registry will just create, will just basically use a preset template. Let's say we create a new spreadsheet and we name it as new sitemap registry. New sitemap registry. And what we will do is simply give the ID of this document, because we have confirmed that URLs are facing some problem, so we will not try to mess with URLs. Instead of this like custom ID that would be generated for every new URL that comes in this system, we will give it a fixed ID, simple, and we will see that it is taking that as a template. By name, sheet 1. You can see this is the sheet, this is the sheet 1, this is the name of the sheet. You can also change the sheet name, but I wouldn't advise this at this point of time. Maps column automatically. So domain, URL count, and process date, these three columns will be mapped automatically to the sitemap registry. And if we now execute, so append or append row, we are not focusing on update row right now. So this is the basic settings that we will have to do for the sitemap registry. Execute step, and we see that we have executed successfully. Now if we refresh this, you can see that it has noted down the site which it has scraped. So we have successfully added site detection to this existing flow just by adding 2 steps. Now for this, we have to do a little bit of pre-analysis and then implement the nodes properly. But let me tell you, right now to make this much, it has taken us an hour or so. But if you implement all of this in code, my friends, it will be very difficult for you to implement all of this in code, because knowing for first of all that much code, understanding code is something different, but you know to actually produce that kind of code, you'll have to know the code in depth. Now if we give it, let's say, another site, so let's ask for some sites which have small like number of URLs, small number of domains, so that we don't take too much credits, cost too much credits for this testing purposes. So hey Claude, can you give me some websites which have small sitemaps, no bad names, please, because it started giving me some abusive names in the last one also, so you need to be careful about that. But yeah, it's fine. So it is giving us this poetryfoundation.org, which it says that it is a very small website to scrape. We'll go over here, we'll enter this and books to scrape. After that, we have entered poetryfoundation.com. We can see the entire flow is running. The best part of this workflow is that none of it has to be manual. It is meant to be run automatically at some point in time. So it is saying that it has been it has some problem. It was not able to map timed out. I think that site might be slow or something. Let's go and try tailwind.css. Let's map the website tailwind.css. I always wanted to see what is in this website. Let's try another website. And you can see the system works flawlessly. It is pointing out the errors, it is doing everything it can, and it has mapped out tailwind. So sometimes some site might take a lot of time to load because of the slowness of that website or the server. There might be a number of reasons, but sometimes it will just work. As you can see, this has worked and it has given us the entire sitemap of tailwindcss.com. Every step has been successful and I had to do nothing manually. Now you can see the tailwind.css has 72 URL count that has been processed. And for finding the actual sitemap of tailwind.css, there is our tailwind.css sitemap. And you can see all of these are links, proper links with the actual URL, leveled links. So you can see at a level 2 we have break inside. All of these are pressable links, and you can just go and actually visit the website and the URL. Now imagine this is the process with such a small like modification, just introducing a branch and having a little bit of insight into what we are trying to extend and how we will extend it, what kind of replication is required for that. Do we need a specific spreadsheet for every URL that we are trying to create? This is how n8n can be used to automate stuff. Now, one thing that is remaining is to include the main brain, that is the AI agent, which will read through our sitemap registry and tell us that whether the site has been initially scraped or the URL has been initially passed through the system or not passed through the system. If the URL has been passed through the system, we will not scrape it again. We will try to fetch the existing data, which can be thought of as like as a cache. Like we have cached the data in the spreadsheet right now. We can cache the data in PostgreSQL also. No worries. There, it's not like that we were not facing errors till now. We have faced a lot of errors, and there might be error in the business code that we are talking about. This is the business code that we are talking about right now. This is what takes the firecrawls extracted data and actually maps it to some uh, like proper field that we can use for further analysis in future. This is the business data which extracts all the links and URLs and maps them to to their levels and gives us a proper spreadsheet. So this is how the first modification was made. Now the next part we will see is how to add an AI agent to this setup. Thank you.